Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 20 of Zesty Thoughts with your host, Annábla. I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. I've had a pretty nice week myself. I got to see some family that was traveling here from Illinois, so that was really cool. I got to spend some nice time with them. I have a lot to chat about today. I'm just going to dive right into it. Last week, my dad and I watched American Psycho. That was the first time I had ever seen it. And the shower scene was crazy. Like, seeing all the products that he uses, my dad was like, that's a little bit overkill. Like, that's a little bit much. And I'm sitting here like, that's like me. That's like, I have like, that's part of what today's episode is going to be talking about, is like my skincare routine, my acne journey, and things like that. But it made me, seeing that scene in the movie and him like like reaming the character about his like obsessive like skincare routine and all like that, it was really funny. It made me think like, wow, that at that time when the movie came out, that was seen as like kind of weird and like extreme. I mean, I guess maybe for like men's standard, as opposed to women's standard, but like nowadays it's just like a little bit more normalized, to the extent that I was like, oh, I like have more steps than that in my routine, depending on like the time of the day. So yeah, I just thought it was really funny. That movie was really well done though. I loved it. Definitely a lot of stuff that's like not PC anywhere. It's like, oh wow, it's crazy how much like a decade, because I think it came out in 2000. It's crazy how much in a decade, like gender norms and the way that women are like spoken about and spoken to, at least how it's changed in the media. I'm sure there's still people that speak within that realm or tone, like obviously, but that was kind of an interesting takeaway that I had. I was like, oh wow, like this was just normal to make movies like this. I think that goes without saying for like any old movie, but it was interesting. I liked it though. It was good. But yeah, my acne journey, I wanted to dive into this because I would consider myself like healed from acne completely. I will get the occasional breakout, usually if it's like hormonal or I don't know, stress, but like really not that much. Usually it's just hormonal factors, and I feel like that's normal for a lot of women. But when I was young, I struggled with acne, like severe acne at one point, like cystic acne, at one point cystic acne specifically. So I wanted to chat about my specific journey, what that was like, and products that I've found that are really helpful, and also like my own personal journey with like finding my skin type, because I perceived it as like all over the place, when in reality it was just, I could just have dry skin. But yeah, when I was young, I've kind of always had dry skin, like body wise, like legs and arms and the rest of my body. But when I was young, my pretty young age, like I would say maybe in like third grade, so like maybe like 8 or 9, my body really started to like overproduce oils with my face. So my skin was very clear that like my moisture barrier was off. I mean, at least I know that now. At the time, I had no perception of that. And a little backstory, my mom doesn't wear makeup, has like really nice skin, just like naturally, doesn't really have a skincare routine, and just like has good skin. Like, she's like 62 now. And she doesn't look it. So that's a little backstory. I it's not like I ever really had someone to educate me on skincare and all those kinds of things. Also, to preface, at this time in my life, I started doing a lot of musical theater productions, which involved heavy stage makeup, and Ben Nye, I think was the brand, just caking that shit on. And I would use like makeup wipes, but there was no really like routine involving taking care of my skin, with that, as a new part of my routine as a child. So I think as a result of like probably the heavily fragranced, makeup that I was using within theater. And then like you're like dancing and like exercising and like sweating in that makeup. And then obviously I was a kid. There were probably some moments where like I just fell asleep with it on. For sure there were moments like that. So the combination of that plus like not really having anybody to be like, oh, use this product or wash your face or moisturize or whatever. It never really, it was just a recipe for acne, if that makes sense. It's not to blame my mom or like the situation or anything, but it was also just like not as, skincare was not as like, discussed, I feel like, in my life, or just in general at the time. So it wasn't really on anyone's radar. You know what I mean? Also, I didn't really wear sunscreen as a child to protect. I mean, I did when I would like go to the beach or like be outside for an extended period of time, but like I wear sunscreen on a daily basis now on my face and like any part of my body that's exposed to the sun. So compared to that, you know what I mean? Most people didn't wear sunscreen unless they were like at the beach or at a pool. So the combination of like probably like small amounts of sun damage, wearing a lot of makeup, dancing and sweating in that makeup and probably sleeping in that makeup, and then just being young and like not really having a knowledge of skincare in general. The acne came pretty early. I was like probably 8 or 9 and it was like crazy. My skin was super oily. But then I would use acne products and my skin would get really dry. So long story short, I dealt with acne like all through middle school and pretty much all through high school. Even college I had acne, although it probably wasn't as severe. I was on birth control for a while, so I think in a way that did kind of help. I wasn't on birth control because of acne, but like it was just also at the time one of those things that like a lot of doctors would be like, oh, if your acne is bad enough, you could like birth control could help, which is crazy to prescribe birth control for acne. Like that's insane. When there were like other solutions, it's kind of nuts. But anyway, long story short, right around the time I like graduated from university, which was like 2019, like pre-pandemic, I got super into skincare. And that was kind of the time when like skincare routines were like becoming more of like a thing on social media, and like YouTubers were talking about their skincare products and routines. And so that's when I kind of got more into it. I will say that like the tried and true product that I think like single-handedly got me out of like that really, really severe hump of just living with acne on a regular basis was The Ordinary's AHA BHA exfoliating and brightening peeling solution. That product, I mean, everybody raves about it, and it's like for a reason. It's like you use it like once a week. You don't even need to use it more than once a week. Single-handedly eliminated any blackheads, and I've always dealt with a lot of blackheads on my chin and my nose. Eliminated that like within like weeks, cleared up that completely, reduced blemishes like significantly. It was insane. And then just another realization that came around that time when I was getting more into skincare was that like, oh, my moisture barrier is fucked. Like my skin and my face is overproducing oil because it's dry. So I need to treat my skin like dry skin, which is kind of funny because like my entire life I've dealt with kind of like little eczema patches here and there, and I've had dry skin my entire life. So I don't know what part of me thought like, oh, well, your face is different. Like it potentially could be, but for me it wasn't. It was just dry like the rest of my body, and I wasn't taking care of it in that same vein. I have to moisturize my entire body from head to toe every single day after I shower. Like otherwise I will get eczema and I will get rashes and like breakout. So I'm fully dependent on just like Cetaphil. Like I use Cetaphil and Aveeno daily, and I go through that shit like crazy. I just have dry skin, and it's not like I'm using soaps and stuff that strip my skin of that moisture. I've done extensive research on that. I use like Dove, and I use some other like really calming soaps that are meant for dry skin. but I can't just use any willy-nilly like body wash. Like if I'm in a hotel, I can't like use what's there. I have to like use my own thing because my skin is so sensitive. So long story short, I started treating my skin on my face like as if it was dry skin. So I specifically bought products that were meant for people with dry skin and marketed towards people with dry skin. I started using hyaluronic acid and like toners and stuff. So I would put a toner on and then hyaluronic acid on top with essentially damp skin to kind of lock in moisture. I started slugging with like facial oils. I would put any, active products on. I would moisturize and then I would slug. And that made also a massive difference in just like my skin's ability to retain moisture overnight and like heal overnight, essentially, like take that time to really soak in all of the actives that I was using and wake up and, see a massive difference. So those are a few other things that I feel like contributed to that. Current products that I use La Roche-Posay, the Toleriane. I don't know how to say that's probably French. I'm not even going to attempt with French words or French names. I'm not even going to go there because I know I'm going to butcher it. But it's their hydrating, gentle face cleanser for dry skin. That product is also another holy grail. My face just like doesn't feel stripped after I use it. If you're someone that struggles with dry skin, I would encourage you to like get like a free sample of it or somehow like a travel bottle of it and just try it out. It's like insane. And to me it was like, oh, it's not stripping enough, so it's not gonna like clean my skin well enough. And that could not be like further from the truth. My acne has significantly reduced since using that product in combination with a few other things. And the oil production in my skin is like virtually, normalized. I wouldn't say that I have like oily skin, in any way, shape, or form anymore. And I think that's like partially due to that product because it's a very moisturizing cleanser. I use that morning and night. Morning, I use the Ordinary's. Oh, I didn't write this down. I use the Ordinary's, like they have a vitamin C serum that I use. And then I use hyaluronic acid. Then I will use the La Roche-Posay Double Repair Face Moisturizer that has SPF in it. It also has niacinamide and ceramides in it. So that's like my moisturizer in the AM. Then I will use at night a cleansing oil. I'm not too picky with cleansing oils. I would just prefer them not be extremely scented, and I really like the Clinique Take the Day Off balm. That is really, really effective. The other one that I've purchased through Ulta, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this may be a new brand. I'm gonna look it up right now, but I think this is my new favorite. There's something to me that I like better about an oil cleanser that's like in a pump versus like a balm. To me, I don't know, aesthetically, I just like pumping something out. I feel like it's a little bit easier. I can also control the amount that I'm using a little bit more. It is the Manyo brand, Manyo, Manyo. I don't know how to pronounce it, but they have a pure cleansing oil that's amazing. It rinses off really easily after you like emulsify it in like kind of warm to cool water. I try not to use warm water on my face too much. That's another factor that has really helped with the dryness of my skin is not using hot water or even really warm water. I pretty much exclusively wash my face with cold water. And I was watching like a beauty, I don't know, like an influencer or somebody online, and she's a Korean influencer talking about specifically like Korean skincare. And one of the things that she mentioned was that like, washing your face is important, but it's almost more important like to spend more time, like obviously you should wash your face for about a minute. Spend 1 minute circling, getting in all the nook and crannies, and really make sure that you're getting every spot in your face thoroughly, whatever cleanser you use. But she was like, it's almost more important to make sure that you're thoroughly rinsing all of that off, because you don't want any of that product left on with the dirt and the oils and whatever bacteria. You don't want that left on your face, and then you dry it and then it's still on your face, and then you put all your products in it, and if you slug, then it gets trapped in your that barrier of the slug. So she was like, I always spend about a minute washing my face thoroughly, but I take about twice, if not 3 times the amount of time, making sure that every inch of it is completely rinsed, which is easier to do if you're like in the shower in the morning, because you can just have the shower running on your face and really get it thoroughly. But when you're in the sink, it's like, it's a little bit trickier, and you have to be more thorough. So that, I think, I took that tip to heart, and I think that has made a massive difference too. Just really making sure that my skin is like thoroughly rinsed, before I dry it with a clean towel. So that's another tip that I have to offer. As far as my nighttime skin care routine, I will use that Mano cleansing oil. So I do a double cleanse at night because I usually have makeup on. And then I will use the La Roche Gentle Face Cleanser. I'll dry my face. And then depending on the night, I use the Ordinary's Grand Active Retinoid 2% emulsion most nights. But if I am exfoliating, I will use the AHA, BHA Ordinary's solution that I was talking about before. If I feel like my face is kind of, if I'm noticing I feel more blemishes, or I feel like more texture, I will use the Ordinary's Glycolic 7% exfoliating toner. And that is one of the products that I would say, even more than their HA, BHA, I notice an overnight difference in the texture of my skin. So if I'm feeling like there's more texture and it's like, it's noticeable, which maybe will be once a week or every other week, or maybe even just once a month, I will use the glycolic acid toner. And that is like a game changer. If I use that and moisturize, and I wake up in the morning, my skin is like a baby's bottom. It's like super, super soft. I make sure not to slug on nights that I use acids, like exfoliating solutions, because sometimes it can increase the strength of it. And because I have sensitive skin, I have to be aware of that. Although at this point, those 2 products I have been using consistently long term for such a long time that maybe my skin could be acclimated to it. But just to be safe, I know I have sensitive skin for sure, so I have to be careful. I have some other products that I've used, but those are the ones that I use most consistently. I just use the Cetaphil lotion at night after I put on my exfoliator or my retinoid, either or, and then I slug with vitamin E oil. Yeah, that's like my overall routine. I have tried skin cycling before. I actually tried it like maybe the first 6 months of this year. So skin cycling would be like you exfoliate one night, the next night you use retinol or retinoid, the next night, and then the next 2 nights you would just do like a recovery night. So hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, something that's a little bit more, not so like intense as an active with your face. And then you start over, exfoliate, retinol, 2 nights of recovery. So it's like a 4-day cycle. I tried that for a little while. I don't know that it made much of a difference in my skin texture. If anything, it wasn't as effective. So I feel like with my skin, using the retinoid every night, because it's such a small percentage, really is effective in keeping my texture at bay. And I noticed when I was skin cycling, I would have more more texture more frequently. So that was just something that I experienced. I don't know if anybody, there are people that swear by skin cycling, but I feel like my skin really, really benefits from that nightly retinoid use. And then I'll just use like the AHA, BHA maybe like once a week. And then the glycolic acid as needed. I mean, that's like a good overview. That's pretty much it. I swear by all those products. If anybody out there is struggling with acne and has any questions, hit me up. I mean, I had my journey too. It's crazy because your acne journey can be so expensive because you try different products, my one tip would just be like, really evaluate like how the skin on the rest of your body behaves. If you have trouble retaining moisture in your skin on your body, if your body is really dry after you get out of the shower and like you have to moisturize every day, but your face is oily, maybe take that as a sign that like maybe you just have dry skin and like the oil is to overcompensate for that. I can't really speak to any other skin type because that's all I've experienced. So I guess if you have the same, experience that I did when I was young with all of those different symptoms, then maybe a routine like that would make sense to you. Okay, let's get straight into the next segment. I have a few things that I'm thirsting for this week, I guess specifically like listening to. I've been listening to a lot of Ray Charles. I think this entire year, honestly, I've just been like in my Ray Charles era. I've been listening to a lot of his like old deep cuts. And I love Ray Charles so much. Like it's like some of my favorite music to just vibe to. I feel like it puts me in such a good mood. I just like sing along in the car. I'm just belting along. And yeah, I vibe with it so much. I love it. I actually had there's a student whose mom came in to try some voice lessons, and she had some recommendations of songs that she had suggestions of songs she wanted to work on, and we had her sing through this one record by Jose called Como Fue. And I mean, I had never heard of Jose. I think I've heard his name before, but I'd never really listened to his music. I mean, I was like completely blown away by his vocal ability. That record in particular, I was just like, oh my God, like I'm going to have this on repeat. I need to learn this. I want to sing this. It's so beautiful. The lines that he draws and the melody, I mean, it's just so impressive. I love his voice. That kind of ties into my hot toddy take of the week, that I feel like, to me, when like you're somewhere watching people sing and like someone just holds like a long note, like I'm not very impressed by that. It's like fine, it's cool if it's really long, like cool. But I think to the average person that's not a singer, they're like, oh my God, and people clap and like cheer when people hold long notes. But as a singer, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, it's a long note. It's like, to me, it's nothing very impressive. Specifically the length of the note is like, okay, whatever. But I feel like phrasing wise, when singers go through a long phrase or like a sentence in a song and they don't breathe in like a predictable way, and the phrase keeps going and they haven't like taken a catch breath yet or anything, that to me is like way more impressive as a singer. And sometimes I try to challenge my vocal students when there are certain parts like that in records that they're trying to work on, and they have to take an extra breath, as opposed to the singer on the record. I think it's a great skill to work toward, to be able to have control of a phrase and keep a phrase connected. I just think, I don't know, there's something about it that I'm like, ooh, like they didn't breathe. That's crazy. Like I get so like riled up. I'm like, damn, like they're still going. They didn't breathe. I just love that so much. I eat that up because breath control is very like challenging. It's hard to get really good at. You have to really, like work at it for like a while to have really good control over your exhale and Yeah. I just think that's like totally more of a flex than like holding a long note on like one word or like one vowel. It's kind of like, ooh, cool. I don't know if I find an example, maybe I'll like link it in the description of like a song that may have that, but I'll link the Jose song too. Cause there were a lot of parts of that song where I was like, whoa, like he didn't breathe there. That's crazy. I've also, because I'm trying to learn Arabic, I have been listening to Distinct a lot. I love his music. That's just like another current like thirst, and what I'm listening to. I'm just trying to compile like a playlist of songs in Arabic that I vibe with so that I can like practice and learn them and like practice pronunciation. And like, I want to be able, if I'm going to be able to speak a language, I also want to be able to sing it. So like, that's a layer of what I'm working on there, but I'm really inspired by his music. And oh my God, I heard the reason I even discovered him. I mean, I like heard his name before, but I didn't know. I think I just heard it through the grapevine. I didn't understand that he was an artist that sang in Arabic. It was irrelevant to me. I don't know. I thought he was like a DJ or something. I had like no clue. I never like looked up his music. But a live performance of him, I think in Lebanon, came up on my For You page, and he was singing an old like love song, Nasina Dunya, which is like I think it's a really popular like love song. I don't know when it came out, maybe like the early 2000s. And if I'm not mistaken, it was like very, very popular in Lebanon. He did a show in Lebanon and performed the song, but like broken down, like kind of modern, like R&B kind of vibe. And his voice is insane. I was like, who is this man? And like, what? I want to hear, first of all, like everybody in the comments was like, can you release like a cover of this? Cause like, this is crazy. I'm going to link the TikTok low key in the description, because I was like in a chokehold. I was like, his voice is angelic. Like, I want more. So obviously I went to Apple Music and like added all of his albums and like EPs and everything. And because I've been like so busy and driving so much, I've just been listening to it nonstop, and I love his music. All right, everybody, I'm going to wrap up today's episode. I hope that you have a fantastic week and a wonderful weekend, and be safe and have fun. And I will see you next week. Bye.